these are, just blinded, but some of the key documents that we're talking about. We've got things that can, in some cases, be, pretty specifically IRS regulated and or even IRS provided in terms of a form like a 1095. And then things that really aren't fundamentally intended to be engaging. These are much more sort of documentation for reference sake and for the security of the member's sake. And so it's easy to fly by them and kind of like assume there is no opportunity for elevated engagement within these. And to be totally clear on this, the elephant in the room is we are not talking about putting something on the 1095 document itself. So the regulatory compliance of this is absolutely tantamount to making sure that we're doing everything between the lines. And when we send out something like a 1095 or an ANOC, those actual artifacts remain completely untouched. So where is it then that we have the opportunity to drive a little bit more of that engagement? To me, this is the total Trojan horse of these packages. Let your address sheet do the talking. And I think there are a lot of places where we sort of look at this as an assumed dead white space. And if we just shift our perspective a little bit and say, let's actually leverage that white space just on an address sheet, we suddenly have the opportunity to capitalize on, in our example, a couple 100,000 kits that might go out to the membership to drive them in that positive direction. Now, it might sound like not that many, or we may say, well, I don't know what the uptake is going to be. If you're doing it anyway, and you get another 10 or 15,000 people to perform an action, it's an amazing amount of value that we can get by just inserting this concept and ensuring that everything we do goes through that engagement lens in our mind. Over a year, 2 years, 5 years, we're now starting to distance ourselves from competition that is underutilizing this modality to drive some of its engagement goals. So I know that there are different sheets of these for different markets or different lines of business. Those address sheets might perform a little bit differently, but the idea that we're really trying to instill is nothing should go out if we haven't given it the rigor of, is it performing for me? Is it driving the organizational metric of portal registrations, of diabetes prevention program signups, whatever that might be? We hate to fly by and leave any money on the table here. Now, some of the actual methods that we include now that we've kind of flipped the switch on looking at this real estate as leverageable, for folks, again, that have heard us speak to EOBs, heard us speak to member guides, to letters and cards, a lot of the same principles that we really promote are going to be in this same space as well. So the tenets of member engagement, especially in the print modality, are we are not trying to waste people's time. It's how quickly can we make a compelling statement, and then how easy and seamless and frictionless can we be in terms of letting them take the step associated with that request. And that's when we start to get some really interesting tactics that we can play with. And if we're really sort of taking this to its endpoint, that you could test and learn from. So we've got an example here where we're looking at, we're emphasizing value, both in the sense of health and in the sense of the members' finances. So we've got that free annual wellness visit. And then we've got a QR code, which we've seen as be effective, whether we're talking about commercial or Medicaid or Medicare lines of business, in terms of there are people who are more likely to take that action by scanning that code as opposed to finding time to get to a web browser on their phone or getting to a computer. So we're leveraging those same tactics that we know are conducive to, across a population of thousands of people, getting a higher percentage of lift. Same principles, just a little bit of a smaller container here within this address sheet. Just another example to sort of demonstrate this. But some of the other tactics that we've used, in particular, as we get into different age and gender cohorts, and we'll touch more on this in a minute. But education is a huge opportunity to close gaps there. We also know that that has the opportunity to sort of stave off some of that call center traffic, which is a big cost priority for a lot of the plans that we work with. But introducing this idea of urgency, we've had a lot of work where clients have asked us, should we demonstrate urgency or should we demonstrate there's really high value associated with the action we want people to take? It kind of depends. Different audiences are going to respond differently to these things. In this case, you're seeing something more like register today, or here at the bottom of this page, you're seeing get back on track, schedule that appointment. You might be falling behind just a little bit. That kind of soft language can have an outsized value in terms of the uptake, depending on who we're sending it to. But that's all really interesting data to get back and realize and learn what's worked and what hasn't. Just a couple of other layers of this is we can do, thinking relative to a calendar and thinking relative to where the member psyche is. This is a really nice opportunity just for some of those tap on the shoulder things. The preventive screenings, if people are at, say, a certain age band, those flu shots, I mean, if everything we sent out from September to January in terms of those regulated docs had a reminder about flu shots until one was completed, then you might see that overall uptick. But it is just that nice little whisper in the ear of, I'm gonna collide with this information as a member. It's going to be forefront of mind, especially for members that are getting a lot of correspondence from us, and that might fall into even like polychronics, for example. Then we've got the opportunity to get that message in front of them even more frequently.